Hi there and welcome to Jacqueline Wilson Raised Us, a podcast for anyone who stayed up way past their bedtime reading double act under the covers. For those of us who raced home after school to watch the latest episode of Tracy Beaker, and for everyone who traded dog-eared copies of the Girls series like they were gold dust on the playground. Basically, if Jacqueline Wilson was your fairy godmother, this is the place to be. Let's dive into the nostalgia together. Today, I'm here with the amazing Benjy Kusi. Benjy is an inclusivity and wellbeing speaker, consultant and writer, as well as an incredible content creator whose educational videos have been watched 6 million times. He's also a huge Jacqueline Wilson fan, and he's joining us today to discuss and celebrate all things LGBTQ+. Hi Benjy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I am so excited to be here. I can't wait to meet Jacqueline. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you for being here. What was your first interaction with Jacqueline's work?
It was having the books passed around the playground. Yeah.
Like my intro.
No, literally, like around the playground or like in the library as well, at school.
Yeah.
And just like the beautiful artwork, on the covers. So iconic and just diving into the lives of these children who I felt like were like me. They were all kind of different and had these kind of messy, complicated lives. And I think what Jacqueline Wilson was really able to do with her books is really kind of unpack the interior mind of children. And when you're a child, you think like no one understands you, no one's living the lives you're living, and so to see kind of your experiences and your thoughts and feelings like replicated on the page so clearly and so viscerally, it's just such an amazing experience. And yeah, Jacqueline Wilson was just such a lifeline for me growing up.
Was there one character in particular that you were like, that's me, in a page?
I would say probably Dustbin Baby was the first one that like really, really resonated with me. I think the main character is called April. And it was her story of going around like trying to find where she fit, right?
Yeah.
Because, trying to find, her real parents, her real mom, and like that sense of abandonment that she felt, and then finally realizing that ultimately like family isn't just about blood, it's about people who choose you, right?
Yeah.
And so chosen family is just as valid, right? And that really resonated with me because I grew up, so I'm Ghanaian and I was raised very Catholic, and I did know I was different, i.e. queer, from a very young age, and I was raised in a culture and in a household that wasn't accepting of that, or at least at the time I didn't perceive it to be accepting of that. And so I was really drawn to April's story because she also felt like she didn't belong, didn't have a place, and the ending of that really gave me hope, right? That like even if your biological family don't accept you, there are people out there who will.
Yeah, it's nice that like those feelings, even though it's not the exact same story, there's so much you can relate to and take it into your own life. I think that is the power of Jackie's book. Yeah, you don't need to be in the exact same situation, but you can still resonate with those feelings. Of
100%. And it's so interesting revisiting those books now as an adult, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all still so relevant, right? So relevant, and I think that is such a gift to be able to write stories for children that aren't patronizing and tap into like universal human emotions and issues and dilemmas, right? And it's not kind of like watered down, right? And I think that is what makes them so engaging.
Yeah, I literally have one of my notes that she never patronizes. She never condescending. It's always like but also like meeting them on their level. Yeah. But in a way that makes them feel like listened to and appreciated and like they're seen. Yeah. Which is so important because I think like sometimes kids' books can be a bit too like everything's fine, everything's like happy days, and like it's not.
No, not at all. And I reread the Illustrated Mum, of course, for this, and I was reading and I was going through it, and I was like, wow, some of this is like really dark.
It's like I was reading it again, and I was like, oh my god, like we really went there for like 8-year-olds.
Yeah, but I was able to handle it. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes we don't realise that kids are able to take on much more than we think.
Yeah, and I think also maybe as an adult you see things that you maybe wouldn't pick up as a child, that you're like, oh, her mum was just a bit different, but you don't, and then now you're reading it, you're like, wow, that's such an incredible way to tell children about mental health without spelling it out, and with also like demonizing it or making it look like a big scary thing. Who else do you have any other favourite characters, books?
Oh, sleepovers.
Sleepovers.
Love sleepovers. I was never allowed to have sleepovers. I had one sleepover in my like childhood life, and that's because my parents are really close with those parents, and so we were able to have that and make that happen. But other than that, I was kind of just like learning, just living through my friends in the playground and books. So that book really stood out to me because I was just envious.
I feel like sleepovers in books and in films are never as good as they like, are always so much better than they are in real life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you miss anything. Like, the best ones are in the books.
People do say that, yeah. Because in my mind, everyone was having these, like, really amazing adult experiences, and they were staying up all night. And
like, fights.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
No one does that.
Okay, fair. Okay.
You really didn't like... And also, I feel like I've noticed a lot more recently, like, hearing parents say that they now don't really do sleepovers. I feel like it's not a big of a thing.
Oh, really?
As when we were younger, maybe.
Interesting.
I mean,
like,
I don't know.
Safeguarding.
Yeah, I think it's like it's interesting to know how much that's like developed as well.
Interesting. So I feel like it was like the done thing.
It was like everything.
Yeah.
Like, over, you weren't like cool.
I know.
Yeah.
And I was not cool. So I wasn't allowed, and I wouldn't have been invited anyway. So maybe my parents were just protecting me.
I do think it is. Yeah, I mean it is. What about Tracy Beaker?
Love Tracy. I didn't mention Tracy because I was like, we're definitely gonna be diving into Tracy. I mean, iconic.
Yeah.
Absolutely iconic. The book, iconic. The show, iconic. Danny's has just joined TikTok. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes.
Obsessed.
Oh God. Collab you and Danny?
Please, Danny, if you're listening to this, let's collab. Yes, let's do it. But no, I mean, even the theme tune, I can make my dreams come true.
And then Stormzy put it in that song like 5 years ago.
What?
Did you not know that?
No.
There's been a Jacqueline Wilson and Stormzy collab.
I'm screaming.
We need to get like, we need to get Stormzy for the podcast, Anna.
Could you imagine if you were like, introducing Stormzy?
Cameo appearance from Stormzy.
But no, love Tracy Beaker. I think she was just so like badass, like, you know.
She really was.
Yeah, and just I think I was always often drawn to characters who were a bit like not super sweet, you know, kind of a bit like could potentially be unlikable, but you like them anyway. Yeah. And I think like she was like very unruly. So unruly. Yes. She was chaos. Yeah, she was chaos. But as a kid, like you're living through her, you admire it, you know, she was bold and strong-willed and just amazing. I also had I was very imaginative as a child, you know, and I think and she had these fantasies about her mum and stuff, and I used to dream about having like a different, you know, family set up like all the time. Yeah, as a child. What was it why? I think what went into that? It was, I think realizing again, feeling very different. And for many different reasons, there was the queer thing, but also being in environments that were also like predominantly like white and thinking about what changes could I make to my life and my identity that would make me fit in and assimilate, right? And I very much resonated with her, you know, dreaming about, you know, this mum that would come back for her and save her, right? But then something which I think I take away from that story now that I maybe didn't really at the time is that ultimately, like, and this sounds so cheesy, but like, we love a bit of cheese, but like in life you kind of have to save yourself. Like do you know what I mean? It's like radical acceptance, right? And that's the relationship of like her and Cam, right? Do you know what I mean? It's like Cam is there for her, you know, and maybe not in a way that Tracy immediately like wants, right? But it's what she ultimately needs, and then they come full circle at the end, and and I think that's a story that's a lesson which I really resonate with as an adult, and I think did come through as a child, but again, you reflect as you go through life and you have different experiences. Yeah, it does feel like when you said you have to save yourself, it's quite, I feel like in all like Jacqueline's books, it's very much the children have to save themselves, and it is like a shame that, I don't know, like that children shouldn't have to save themselves though. They should have teams and like people around them that look after them, and I guess that was Cam for Tracy, that she finally got that place of safety and happiness. Yeah. But I get what you mean, that like you need but you have to be open to it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like that, Yeah, it's like she had to let go of the fantasy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she had to let go.
And be open to the reality, right? And I think as a child, that is such an important lesson to learn, right?
Yeah.
That is that acceptance of circumstance and realizing that ultimately, like, there is still, it can get better. There is still a future for you, but you need to really accept yourself for who you are, right?
And actually, the reality can be so much better than your fantasy.
Exactly, like very, very that, you know. So yeah,
I imagine a life with Cam was actually much better for Tracy than with her mum would have been.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
this imaginary mum, you know,
who actually probably wouldn't have been there for her if she was there.
No,
not present, you know, mentally or whatever.
100%, and it's kind of a similar thing with Dustin Baby. Like it's a similar kind of story. Yeah, and again, it was like, I think what made Jacqueline Wilson such like an iconic and prolific person in my life and many people's lives who are my age, is that like it was like a whole universe, you know, like talking about, what did they say, like the Marvel universe, the Jacqueline Wilson cinematic universe. But like it literally was, though, you know, it was different stories, but you felt like it was like this, like there were all these through lines, right? And so it made you just want the next book and the next book, you know, and you were creating this kind of Who do
you think would have been friends in the books? Like, who is Tracy going to be friends with? Who do we think? I feel like Tracy doesn't get on with a lot of people. Yeah,
I was gonna say
she needs someone naughty as well with her.
Yeah. Do you think Tracy and Star would have got along?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you think? I feel like they're both kind of like strong-willed.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
But I feel like I'm thinking of Star from Picture Imperfect now as an adult, and I'm like, no, they would not get on.
No.
But I'm having to be like, is Star from Illustrated Mum? Maybe.
Because she was like strong-willed and like, you know, and she also was somebody who had been through a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
and true. Was trying to, you know, make it through, right? And maybe she was quite studious, though.
She was, and I feel like that's where they differ.
That's maybe where they differ. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they might have like a enemies to friends trope.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I can see that, yeah.
They may immediately clash, but then realise that actually they are more similar than they realise.
Actually, if they teamed up, they'd be like so powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, we're thinking too much into the Marvel thing. No, but like, if they teamed up, they could be like an incredible, like,
100%. Yeah.
Speaking of Tracy Beaker and Cam, I don't know if you've ever seen, but Jacqueline has actually confirmed that Cam, when she was writing it, was gay the entire time. Did that when you were a child? Did you pick up on that, or is it something that you now, as an adult, been like, oh wow, I wish I'd known that then? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's interesting because that's something which I didn't really pick up on at the time. Yeah. And I think it's maybe an indication of just like a lack of representation, you know, in that moment, right, in that period, because in hindsight, of course, it's like very clear, but then Cam marries a man, right, at the end of Tracy Beaker.
Oh my god, yes, she does.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes it even more impactful that in the other series, like, Jacqueline was able to kind of right that wrong, so to speak. Not that it's wrong, but was the course correct, maybe, in a way that maybe is more firm for people who did really resonate with Cam or see themselves in Cam from a queer perspective. But yeah, it's not necessarily something that I picked up on, but now in hindsight, I 100% do see it. And I think, you know, it's important to remember that there's still so much that we have to do, and we have so much further to go when it comes to representation. But we have come leaps and bounds, and at the time, you know, there wasn't that as much at all, you know. So I think whilst for me I didn't really pick up on it at the time, I'm sure it was even still radical to have someone like Cam represented in the way that she was in that show, and also in the book, of course.
And I think it'd be really interesting when we chat to Jacqueline in a minute to ask her, you know, if she was writing Tracy Beaker again today, would she make it more explicit? Really obvious that Cam was gay? Or is that not needed, do you think? Yeah,
it's interesting. I'm not really sure about that, but I guess at the time, I don't know when Tracy Beaker was released, things like the early 90s, right?
Yeah.
So Section 28 was a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm sure that definitely came into play. You're writing for children. These books are going to be in libraries. You know, I don't want to speak for Jacqueline Wilson, but
no, but we can ask her.
We will ask her.
But
I would assume that probably played a huge part as well. Unfortunately. Yeah.
When you were growing up, were there any other characters within Jacqueline's work that you sort of like were like, oh, maybe they're similar to me, or like you picked up that they might be queer, or part of the community?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, in the Illustrated Mum,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that is really cool that Ollie grew up and is,
is now.
And, well, Ollie was always gay, but you know what I mean? But has come out as an adult, right?
Yeah.
Because I definitely saw myself a lot in Ollie as well, in Illustrated Mum. Yeah, because I was, like, the library moments... I really, because I was a child, like, who just lived in the library. I really wanted to be outside playing with the girls, but then I didn't want to get teased. I'd get teased for doing that, and I didn't want to be out playing with the boys, because it wasn't my thing, you know? So there was nowhere for me to go, so I would just go to the library, and became really close with my librarian at the time, and I would just sit in there at lunchtime and read books, and so I really resonated with Ollie, because that's where they had their friendship, right? Ollie and
Dolphin felt safe as well.
Exactly. And I think so many queer people have that experience of finding real safety in libraries and in English class, and I think a lot of that comes from wanting to, I think, escape as well. It's escapism, right? It's the thing about reading is that you realise that there are other possibilities, there are other lives that other people are living, and when you don't necessarily feel as comfortable in yours, it's a way to kind of, dip into an existence that feels a bit more safe and supportive and comforting.
And take you away for an hour and just be in a different world.
100%. So whilst at the time I didn't see myself within Ollie from like a queer perspective, I did in ways that I think relate to my queer identity and experience,
Yeah, there was something you felt safe and familiar with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Not necessarily being like, he's gay.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I didn't know I was gay, but I knew I was different. You know what I mean? And I knew that I was on the margins for many different reasons, some which were not even super clear to me.
Yeah. Growing up, what did you expect your life to be as an adult?
Ooh, what did I expect my life to be as an adult? I'd split that into two sections. I think when I was like in like primary school and I was kind of first encountering Jacqueline Wilson and reading her books, I thought I was going to be an author. Yeah. But I am an author.
I mean...
So, do you know what I mean? Dream realised, self-actualised, very that. But yeah, I did.
Was she the reason you wanted to be an author?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, I wrote my first book when I was like 9. Yeah, my parents are very supportive of that. And
what's the book about?
It was about a dove.
Oh my God.
A dove. It was something I can't...
Have a name?
It's quite... No, I can't remember. But it's very vague. I very vaguely remember it being about like a baby dove who gets like lost from like his mum and then finds her at the end. Yeah. I think it's like fell out of a tree. I think in my mind doves lived in trees. I don't know if they do live in trees.
Birds live in trees?
Yeah.
We're clearly word people and not people.
But so I thought I was going to be a writer and an author, and I am a writer and an author, so there we go. So that was my fantasy at that time. And then when I was in my teens, to be honest, I just didn't think I'd have a future, I can't lie.
Wow.
Yeah. To be upfront, to be direct, I think it was when I fully realised what that difference really was, and people were telling me what it was. You're gay, and I was like, oh, am I gay? Oh gosh, yeah, I am. Oh gosh, okay.
So did you have other people tell you it before you felt it, like...
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. I was first called gay in a derogatory way, like in primary school. Jesus. And I remember, the boys, especially in school, being like, "You're gay, like that's gross."
Yeah.
And then I didn't know what it meant to be gay. Yeah. And but I just knew it was bad, and I was like, oh no, I'm not gay. Like, what is gay? And then like, I know that you're gay.
Yeah.
And so then like coming to terms with it in my teenage years, I'm like, oh, that's what being gay means. Oh, and this is how, gay people are treated in society, and these are the lives that they live and they lead. And talking about representation, I think at the time as well, there was this narrative that if you are queer, especially if you're a gay man, especially, but more so, that you're going to die.
Wow. You're
going to live a sad life, and you're going to die very young. And that is what I thought my future would be when I was a teenager. And a lot of my teenage years were, and again, I was drawn to books and reading, especially in my teens, because I was kind of looking for stories that were hopeful, you know, and I was eventually able to find to affirm myself, you know, and to find chosen family, and to realize that I can have a life that is affirming and uniquely mine, you know, despite my identity and my sexual orientation. But it was tough, you know, and I think that is also, I think it's really important, you know, now reading this book, I think to realize that there are lots of people like me, right, who didn't feel like they had a future, you know, and these books at that time were like such a lifeline, right, and a support. And now we're still here, right? And now and Jacqueline Wilson's still here. Do you know what I mean? And now we're reading her books as an adult, and that's like such a triumph, you know. And so that was definitely my experience reading Picture Imperfect. It was that I was like, oh wow, I was maybe taken back to the feelings and emotions that I had as a child, and being really proud of myself that I'm not only have I self-actualized and I am a writer, you know, but also I'm still here, you know, and I've made it through.
Thank you so much for sharing with us sharing that with us. That's a lot to go through at a young age, and thank you for being here with us. I'm so glad you're here with us. Is perfection possible?
Oh, do you know what? I think we should be aspiring to do, you know, be our best selves, right, and to do better and to be better, right. We should be aspiring to do better and be better, and I think there is something in like realizing that like perfection is impossible, right, and it's a standard which is informed by like societal like biases and prejudices, and you know, and concepts of what the ideal life should look like, right, you know. And of course there are like general principles that we kind of universally agree on as like the human race, right, when it comes to like ethics and stuff like that.
I mean, do we all agree?
Well, that, you know what, true, right, true.
We'd love for us all to agree.
There are general principles of ethics that we would love for us all to agree on. Yes, good correction there.
Sorry, I wouldn't.
No, of course, same. But within that, there is like so much nuance, right? And so it's about trying your best to be your best self, right? But not aspiring to kind of these societal ideas, because they don't fit everyone, they don't apply to everyone, you know. And something that I have really been trying to do, you know, in my adult life, is to really let go of like any heteronormative, you know, ideals that, you know, things that I'm really interrogating what I really want, you know, because so much of what I want is actually shaped by what I've been told. And that's not to say that there aren't aspects of heteronormativity that queer people can also want and aspire to, but I think when you live a life where you are told that, you know, the golden standard is this, right, but the majority of people who fit that golden standard aren't like you, it's really important for you to really interrogate whether that is a standard that is healthy for you specifically to be working towards. If that makes sense, right?
Like growing up, like everyone thinks it should be like the 2 parents and the 2 kids and the dog, and like it doesn't have to be that.
It doesn't, you know.
And that's not for anyone. Like that ideal, like growing up, is that something that you thought was expected of you?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, yeah. And the interesting thing is that like I have realized that there are aspects of that I do want. Like, you know, I would love to have children one day, for example. But there definitely was a time when I wanted it for like reasons that were like unhealthy, right?
What you were told to expect and like what you were told to do, or
like I wanted to assimilate, right? So I was like, okay, well, you know, I'm queer, but I can still get married, I can still have children, and I can still be normal, right?
Normal,
right? Do you know what I mean? whilst now I've unpacked that and I've unpicked it and I've reconstructed it, and now it's like, yeah, I'd love to find somebody who, you know, I want to spend the rest of my life with. I would love to, you know, nurture and raise another human being, you know, and I want those things, you know, because I want them, right? Not to like impress or appeal to anybody or to be perceived in a certain way, you know?
Or you've been told that you should want them.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think, when you are marginalised and, you know, in society, I think often it's really hard for you to, I think it's just really important for you to interrogate your wants and your needs, because often you're told what you should want and what you need, right?
Yeah. Speaking of that, actually, I saw on your TikTok the other day, you spoke about how it's not a personal failing to not be in a serious relationship in your 30s. And I loved that. I'm nearly there. I'm not there yet. So I'm clinging on for those next 2 years. Yeah. But, like, it is I love hearing what you said about that, like, because that is that thing. I was like, oh my God, by the time I turn 30, I should be in a serious relationship. And it's like, actually, who says that?
Like why? Yeah. You know? And it's like, life is so long, right? It's short in many ways, but it's long in many other ways, right? Yeah. Like, there isn't like a limit to like finding love and experiencing love, and of course there are all types of love, but if it's about romantic love, like, you can find that in all stages of your life. And so that should give anybody who is in their 20s being like, I haven't found the quote unquote one yet or whatever, like, hope. You know, like, obviously if you have found somebody who, you know, you feel like is your quote unquote person, like, great, amazing. If you haven't, like, it doesn't mean your life is over, right? You know, and
literally within Picture Imperfect, Dolphin, like, no spoilers, but like, she's in her mid-30s, she's still figuring out what her perfect romantic relationship looks like. Yeah.
So you have time to find that. Yeah. And you have time to have the patience, right, to make sure that you are making the decisions that are best for you and your life, right? And not, you know, making decisions that are because, you know, society says you should be, you know, living a certain way. And also as well, it's really important to remember that the longest and most important relationship you're ever going to have in your life is with yourself. Yes. Right?
110%.
Yeah, you know, so regardless of whether you're partnered or not partnered, right? Because these are just like statuses, right? There's no inherent value to either, right?
No, there is. Yeah.
It's whatever, right?
Literally made up.
Right, it's all made up. But what is true is that your life will be worse if you don't have a good relationship with yourself.
100%.
And that's the priority. That really should be the priority, right? You really need to pour into your cup before you pour into anybody else's.
I mean, again, not to be like it's in the book, but that is literally, I feel like Dolphin's journey summed up, is that she puts so much energy, especially into her mum and to everyone else, making everyone else happy, that actually what she needs to realise is that she is number one. Yeah. And if she doesn't do that, she's going to be, you know, broken. Yeah. Not broken, but that's the wrong word. But not the best version of herself for herself.
Yeah, she needs to realise that she has inherent worth.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the thing I found quite frustrating for Dolphin on her behalf. I was like, you're an amazing person and you don't realise it. And like, it's really hard to read that about someone who doesn't know their own worth. Do you want to meet Jacqueline Wilson?
Yes!
Can we welcome in Jacqueline, please?
Hi, so lovely to meet you.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, it's great to be here.
It's so, I'm fangirling yet again. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. I'm dying to know what you've been talking about. Hopefully it was okay.
We've got some good questions for you, I think.
Yes.
Yes. But before that, we've got a few messages from some lovely fans of yours who would like to say a few words about your books and what they mean to you.
Hi! Our favourite Jacqueline Wilson book is Sleepovers. It is the first and probably last children's book we have ever read. That it has two sister characters just like us. I can still remember the feeling of excitement. It quickly became our favourite book, and is now our cousin's favourite book because there is a girl like me.
Like you. Yeah. That feeling of being seen has never left us, even as adults. So we just wanted to say a massive thank you to Jacqueline, and say that her books are changing lives, including she's changed ours for the better. So thank you so much, and we hope you write as long as you want to. You bring joy and happiness to the world. Goodbye.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh my God, we've got two more as well.
I have so many fond memories of reading Jacqueline Wilson's books when I was growing up. Everything from Tracy Beaker to Girls in Love. I remember reading Double Act and wanting to have a twin of my very own. And I have this memory of doing a school project about the book, the Lottie Project. But in fact, the book itself is just about a girl doing a school project. So clearly that book has imprinted me in some way that I feel like the character's journey was actually my own life and memories. That's what stories do to you sometimes. But I'm also very excited to read some of Jacqueline Wilson's new adult books too, because I just have so many great memories of them. I absolutely adore her writing and her stories.
Oh, that's so lovely. And guess what? I wrote Double Act because I was an only child, desperately wanted a sister, particularly a twin sister. So I'd always have somebody to talk to and have fun with.
I feel like there's such a thing about twins. Like, everyone wants a twin. Even if you've got, I have a sister, but it's still like, a twin is so cool.
Yes. Although I did show in that book that sometimes if there was one dominant twin, it's quite difficult. Still.
And then one more.
Okay.
I'm Lorna Rose Treen. I'm a comedian and I'm also absolutely raised on the books of Jacqueline Wilson. They are all I read for the longest time. I love them so much. I think because at the centre of them are these like really curious, complicated young women. And I think I found that really, I don't know, relatable. My favourite books were Lola Rose because she had a name like mine. And that means a lot when you're a kid. And also The Cat Mummy because I really related to the fact that this girl is absolutely obsessed with ancient Egypt. We love her special interest. When her cat passes away, she decides to mummify her cat and she puts it in a duffel bag with bath salts and puts it in her wardrobe and doesn't tell anybody. My parents knew I was so obsessed with this book and Jacqueline Wilson generally that they sat me down and they were like, when your cat passes away, under no circumstances can you mummify your cat. I also wrote to Jacqueline Wilson in year 6 because we had to write to somebody that we found inspiring, and she wrote back and it meant so much. And I have a little postcard at home that my dad kept. It's super cute.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Do you know, I could not write The Cat Mummy now because I have a beloved cat. And it would just seem funny, but awful. But it was, I wanted to do something about death in a children's book. And I think for children, mostly the first time they encounter death is a beloved pet. I used to get letters with tear stains. My hamster died today, and well, all this sort of thing. So I thought, well, it's one way. I knew certainly at that time that children studied the Egyptians. So I thought, okay, let's give it a go.
Ease them into it. You must get so many letters.
I've got file after file after file of wonderful letters, but I have about 5 young women, even edging up to 30 women, 30 in age, who've been writing to me since they were about 8 or 9.
Wow.
And these are very special girls. And I'm not lucky enough to have grandchildren. I've just had one lovely daughter. But, you know, they're of an age when certainly a couple of them have had children. And I feel like they're my token grandchildren.
Oh my god, that's the most that's so special. That's such a lovely relationship to be able to have with your readers. We were talking about some of our favourite books, and we spoke about Tracy Beaker, of course, and Cam, and we were wondering, we were sort of talking that if you'd written Tracy Beaker now, obviously it wasn't, you've since come out and said that Cam was gay, but you didn't write that explicitly in the books when you were writing them. If you had done them now in 2025, would that have been different for you, do you think?
Possibly, in fact, probably, but I didn't really want to make an issue of it as such. I always had in my mind that Cam was gay, and in the sequel to that, you see Cam's 2 best friends, and anybody clued in knows perfectly well. And then in the very last grown-up Tracy book, apparently written by her daughter Jess, Cam has actually got her partner Mary, and they are running a sort of small home for teenage girls to help them out. So it's sort of coming full circle.
That's
there.
so full circle. Oh, I love that so much.
I must have been a little bit thick because I didn't really think of myself as gay then, but I was very pro-gay and had gay friends. And I thought, what a ridiculous thing to make an issue of. And so I haven't been particularly political in my books as such, but I had gay characters in my books. I just didn't say they were. I had a book for quite small children called Rent a Bridesmaid, when this kid has a pretty bridesmaid's dress and never gets a chance to have any friends actually getting married. And one of the marriages that she's employed at is a gay wedding for two guys. And I don't say these are gay men. You don't need to. And I like to make it just sort of matter of fact. And indeed, under my chair let me see, when was this published? I mean, very old. It's called This Girl, long out of print, published in 1988. And this girl, actually, they come from very different backgrounds. They actually get together, and I never say exactly what's what, but they share a flat together several times because they have rows. Deb ends up drunk and crying, and there are rows long into the night. But there are other nights too, lovely ones. And you can sort of pick up from this exactly what their relationship was like. Not a soul ever objected to it. And I think the secret was then, you just write about relationships and you didn't specially say that, you know, this is a gay relationship, this is a straight relationship or whatever. And I think young people just accept, you know, this is a relationship between two very different girls, but they're making it work for them. So I was really quite pleased with that. But then much later, about 6 years ago, I wrote a book called Love Frankie, which was very much sort of out there, and a girl a bit bewildered because it's a charismatic girl, Sally, who has been really mean to Frankie, and yet Frankie's attracted to her. And it's that first love thing where you think it's all in all, and probably it isn't. But and how you deal with that, because I think hopefully now we're so laid back that, you know, girls would think so, or lucky you for hitting it off or something, but you never know. So I just wanted to write about this. I mean, the novel is about other things too, but to show that, you know, mostly you have a sort of a crush on someone, horrible word, but you know what it's like. And you might share it with somebody else, and then they tell somebody else, and then people sort of tease you. And so I wanted to deal with all that and show it's okay. And I had lovely letters back after that, really did.
And there was also Carl in Kiss as well.
Carl in Kiss, and it's told from the girl next door's point of view, who adores Carl. And the families automatically think they're made for each other. But Carl falls in love with another boy and gets quite carried away one evening in Kew Gardens. Funny places. And
very chic place.
and without even thinking about it, he just lightly kisses this boy that is his best pal. And best pal, I do say he slightly returns the kiss before saying, "Oh, don't get away from me." And I'm sure that happens still, because you know, there's meant to be this gaydar thing. Well, I don't know. Sometimes you can think it works, sometimes you don't. And being boys, absolutely buzzing with hormones, and, you know, not necessarily the sweetest, kindest boys. It's a bit tough for Carl. And I wanted to show too that he can still love the girl next door in a brotherly, sisterly way, and she's bless her, good, understanding, kind about it all.
Who are both of your queer icons? Go on.
Oh, would you like to go first?
Well, being me, I have to pick writers, but I could also pick artists. So writers, I think Sarah Waters writes wonderful books, and they are kind of iconic because although there've been some lesbian books before quite a lot that have been very interesting. She became this mainstream author that I think straight women who love to read nearly always have several Sarah Waters on the bookshelf. She sort of opened things up and said, this is the work. She doesn't always write about gay couples, but they frequently crop up. And I think she's pretty special. And then also Russell T Davies. I think, again, I mean, he writes, you know, he's famous for his Doctor Who episodes, which always include very interesting, diverse characters, but also, I mean, particularly he wrote, I think, a 6-part series about the AIDS era, which had you sobbing and sobbing at the end of it. But he's you know, very sort of open and matter of fact, and always has been, about his sexuality. And he's a great big cuddly bear of a man, so that's fine. And then artists. I mean, I have to choose older artists because diversity always also should include the aged, otherwise me. And David Hockney, still going strong and doing fantastic work. And Maggie Hamling, who doesn't give a damn about anything. I'd be really scared to meet Maggie, but I do admire her.
Oh, amazing. Well, it's interesting you said Russell T Davies, because one of mine is Ncuti Gatwa, who is the most recent Doctor Who. And so amazing. And I often, on TikTok, people often say, oh, you remind me of Eric from Sex Education, you know? And sometimes they're being sincere, sometimes not. But when they are being sincere, I think what they're really picking up on is the fact that I am another Black, you know, queer person. And I always think, like, it's so amazing that there was a younger version of me growing up, figuring themselves out, who may have watched Sex Education and seen Eric and been like, oh wow, I also am Black, and I think Eric is also African, I'm Ghanaian, and I was also raised in a religious household. And so that representation is like so important, and the fact that Ncuti Gatwa is like also living that life as well, and being someone who is kind of proud. But as you mentioned as well, I think Ncuti Gatwa, whenever he talks about his identity, at least from what I know anyway, of him, he's very kind of like matter of fact about the fact that, you know...
Matter of fact, I think, is the most special word to use, because, you know, it's everything, and yet it's no big deal.
Yes.
I was quite lucky because I've been in a very happy gay relationship for more than 20 years, and I missed out. I think if I had, you know, like in Love Frankie, if I'd had a sort of romance with another girl, I think at my school it would have been very difficult indeed. And I didn't really ever have to experience any kind of hostility or bullying. Timing. I was very, very lucky. But I have spoken to quite a few much older gay people, and nearly all of them said that for some phase or other in their lives, it was hard going and difficult. And dare I ask, how did your family feel?
They did not take it very well. They're still not accepting of it. I mean, it's a journey, and it's really easy to kind of put a general kind of to paint it with like a broad brush. Everyone is different, you know, and I think everyone has a different relationship to like their culture and their religion, and so it depends on which family member I'm talking about. But in general, it hasn't necessarily been welcomed with open arms, and I think, as we talked about earlier, you know, a lot of my teenage years, I really felt like I would have no future, and part of kind of my journey has been kind of realizing that ultimately I'm beautifully and perfectly made, you know.
Absolutely.
And there are people like me and queer people who are living amazing, successful, beautiful lives, you know. But yeah, it has been a journey.
Families are difficult though, because my mother, I mean, she's long dead now, but when I told her that I was in love with my partner Trish and we were going to be living together, Oh, she made me a feel, oh, the shame. What will people say? I mean, she was so ridiculous. I couldn't really take her seriously. I mean, that was me in middle age, for God's sake. But, oh, she got used to it.
Yeah.
Just about.
I think it's about kind of giving people time, you know, but not waiting, right? Allowing them to do the work themselves. Right, and come back to you, you know, if you know when they're able to. But I think also as well, and I think this comes through in your books as well, is like chosen family is just as important.
Chosen family is very, very special.
Really quickly as well, my other hero, because you mentioned writers, would be James Baldwin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was out there long ago and writing beautiful books.
Yeah.
And luckily, he's still well known, I think, particularly amongst the gay community. And yes.
Yeah, Giovanni's Rome was...
I studied that at university, my favourite
Did
books
you?
read. Yeah, it was one of my favourite ones we did because it was just the most beautiful.
So beautifully written, and I think it really kind of demonstrates this idea of like shame, right? And how it can be so kind of limiting, right? And on the other side of shame is really, for all of us, our best lives, right? The ability to live our true authentic selves. And I say this all the time, I think that's really what, you know, pride is all about, right? It's about letting go of shame, you know, and realize stepping into your light, right? Yes. And I think James Baldwin really beautifully depicted how shame, you know, is the room, right? That you're locked in the shadows, and in order to kind of live the life that you're meant to lead, right? And that's best for you, you need to step out of it confidently.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
You came out later in life, in your own life, but also when we had Ellie in Think Again, we got to see more of her journey. Why was that important for you to talk about Ellie's journey?
Well, I think possibly it's interesting in that I think the reader knows long before Ellie does. Come on, girl. Yeah. I didn't exactly come out because I think everybody, all our friends, family, and certainly everybody in publishing and the book trade knew we were a couple for years and years and years. And I thought it was when I wrote Love, Frankie, and because it was about a girl falling for another girl, inevitably journalists would ask me, you know, is this your experience? Actually, it wasn't. And I think my best friend from those days would think, thank you for saying that, Jack, because she was appalled thinking that other people would think we'd had some passionate relationship. But do you not find that is the trouble, that if people know you're in your gay relationship, I think women in particular, they always think, oh, is she eyeing me up and down? Not the rest of it. And you do think, grow up.
Yeah. Is that something you feel?
Oh, I went to a boys' school.
Yeah,
I went to a boys' school, and so it was always that thing of like, oh, like Benji's gay, like Benji fancies me. And I wish, now if I could go back, I wish I could be like, I don't want you snotty boy. I don't okay. Please, you know, you wish, you know, and it's just like, it's this of course, like this queerphobic narrative that ultimately, you know, people who are queer, right, who aren't straight, are just like hypersexual, you know, and that we're into just like anybody and we're into anything, and like that's just not the case. Like we also have preferences and tastes, you know, and ultimately it's not just about sex, right? It's about the human to human connection, like anybody else, right? So yeah, that also really annoys me.
And I also think it's slightly limiting that we all put ourselves into different labels, and I'm in this place and I'm in that place and whatever, because I never really felt I was particularly repressed. And I had a perfectly straight marriage for many years. And then, as one of my friends said, and then you became a Trishian, because my partner's called Trish.
Like so, that.
Yeah. And so I rather think you just never know. You can suddenly, I mean, you think, oh yes, I'm on this pathway. Yes. Oh no, I've jumped off that. I'm on this. And you know, why not?
Yeah. I often say that we are always in the process of becoming. Right. Not one of us is like, finished. We're not, no one is done.
No.
You know? Yeah.
That's so deep. I love that. Now that you've written, we're now on our second adults book. How different has it been writing, you know, romantic relationships for kids versus for adults? Because obviously there are some steamy scenes in here, Jackie.
I know. This is it, in that if you've made a career for yourself writing for children, and obviously, like when you're talking to children, you use appropriate language, and you certainly don't write relatively explicit sex scenes for children. But then I thought, with an adult book, with adult relationships, I think we've gone past there, and then we went into the bedroom. In fact, I can't. Oh yes, one scene is in a bedroom. Other scenes are not in bedrooms.
No, they are not.
Think again. And my new book, Picture Imperfect, does have some sex scenes too. That I am absolutely fine and cool. When I was on tour with Think Again, I was very happy talking to lovely audiences and didn't feel a bit shy. The only time I have felt amazingly shy was when I was giving a talk for the bookshop in my own village, and there in front of me were all the people, some of them quite older as I am, and I was just thinking, they're reading this and they're reading this, and they think, well, Jackie's maybe writing autobiographically. And I did go very coy. In fact, I'm going a little bit hot thinking about it. But I was so cross because some people came to see me talk, and I wasn't at my best just that one occasion. But I have promised that I will actually. I've been asked to talk there again after I've done this sort of big places all around, and I am determined just to be very cool and relaxed and have a stiff drink afterwards.
How do you both feel that, you know, in books and media, how queer representation has changed since the 90s, 2000s, and now today? What are we on? 2025? That's the year. What do you want to see for books in the future?
I think I'd like things to be quite open and relaxed. I mean, there might be a plot where there's a very tortured relationship, or somebody for whatever reason wants to hide their relationship, but mostly I would just like it to be part of ordinary life, and that and feel free as an author.
What do you hope to see for, including children's literature as well?
Yeah, I guess like more like intersectionality, right? So just like more depictions of, you know, because what's so central to my identity is not just being queer, but also being black, right? And being Ghanaian and coming from that cultural background and being who I am, being queer. And I think like the more... Because what's so amazing about reading is like you're able to see yourself reflected often, right? And more people, more of us have that ability and that privilege than others, right? And so I think now we have a bit more room now to start telling even more stories, right? And I think the more intersectional stories we can tell, like, the better, because it means that not only will more people see themselves represented, but also more people will be able to learn about different experiences they may not have learned about or read about before.
Quite. Yeah, you summed it up brilliantly.
Thank you.
So speaking of being matter of fact, in Picture Imperfect we also have Ollie is back again, and he is gay in the book, and he is married, but again it's just matter of fact.
Yes, I mean, this Picture Imperfect is the sort of a sequel that's happening years and years after a book called The Illustrated Mum, and Ollie was one of my favourite characters in that, because he's small, he's bullied, he loves reading, he's a kind friend to my main character Dolphin, and I thought no matter what, and there's all sorts of different developments, I have to have him back. And I tried to think of him now. It's so interesting thinking what my character's going to be, and then I thought, yes, Ollie would be gay, but I couldn't really see him in a really well-known gay club or whatever, that he'd be too shy. So he is a teacher and his partner is a teacher, and I think I call them a rather mean description, cardigan boys. They're very, very happy together, and And I think Dolphin is very happy for them too.
And Benji, you were saying how much you related to Ollie and how important that character was for you. So
yes.
Oh, but you are so not kind of.
I love that you got that from just meeting me now, but I'm not. It's true. It's true. In fact, there's because they come back from Brighton Pride, don't they? And I went to university in Brighton. I went to Sussex, so Brighton is a close place in my heart. And they mentioned just like having one lager at Brighton Pride, and then going home or whatever. Or then they saw the Pet Shop Boys, and they thought that was really yes. So they had a bit of fun, But I was like, oh gosh, I'm having more than one lager at Brighton Pride. I'm pretty sure. Yes. So I've grown up to like not be very much like Ollie, but younger Ollie was definitely someone I really saw myself in. The library was a safe space for me, and I had a close relationship with my librarian. And,
librarian, lovely.
Oh, so lovely.
And libraries in schools are a place of refuge if you don't particularly fit in on the playground scene.
Yeah, well, I was saying that I wanted to go outside and play with the girls, and when I did that, I'd get teased, but I didn't want to go outside and play with football with the boys. I wasn't like a rough and tumble kind of little boy, and so I felt like I had no space in the playground to be myself, and so the only place that felt safe for me was the library. Yeah.
Obviously, in your career, you've created so many safe spaces for children. We now have some of those children that have grown up and have sent you some questions that they need some help with in their adult lives. So are you prepared to have some little advice?
Okay.
Some advice?
Okay. Don't take it too seriously.
Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you for being my #1 author as a child. I actually met you at Loughborough Library once, which was really nice. I just remember all your jewellery sort of jingling. It was lovely to meet you.
I'm not jingling now.
My question is, I trained in the healthcare profession, but now I'm starting to get burnt out. What general advice do you have somebody who's only known one career? Thank you. Bye.
I absolutely bond with you in that we've only got one life, and sometimes, particularly if you work in the health industry and it's so hard at the moment, and you have to work hard. Where I'm a bit of a cautious soul. I would find out what you want to do, whether you could support yourself if there was any extra training involved, and find out whether it would be possible for you to pursue what you want to do before leaving your job, if you possibly can, because it's so easy to jump ship and then find that the alternative actually wasn't quite right for you, or might think that you're not quite right for them. I would suggest caution, but I understand that if you're getting up every morning and feeling you can't cope, it's a horrible feeling. And if it goes on and on and on, maybe you could somehow or other, ask for a couple of weeks where you just actually rested and had a think about it before going back to work. What do you think, Benjy?
Yeah, I think I'm somebody who did pivot. I worked in advertising. I used to plan like media campaigns, and I pivoted to essentially become a HR consultant, and so that's kind of what I do now amongst other things. And I did that at 25, which now I'm 30 and I'm still young, but at the time it felt like I was like really late, right? I felt I was like too old to pivot, too old to change. And I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, you were a baby, and I'm still a baby, I could change my career tomorrow. But I love your advice because it's practical, right? I could change my career tomorrow, hypothetically, but we live in a capitalist society, right? Not all of us has the privilege to be able to just like drop what we do, today and start something tomorrow, right? So, but we should all still aspire to be able to live the life that is right for us, right? Yeah. So you can put that aspirational energy into creating a plan. Right, doing some research, and I love a good like spreadsheet with like timelines, and so in 3 months I want to have maybe research different career choices, right, and maybe looked at some job descriptions, right, and maybe in 6 months maybe I've had some experience, some work experience, right, or maybe I've put out a certain amount of applications, or do you know what I mean, or so I think it's about taking it slow and steady, but ultimately having the end goal, which is living the life that is right for you. And also, the other thing I'd add is that we spoke earlier about how life is so long in many ways, you know? And so I think often what I can find reassuring is that if I'm in a tough spot right now, I think about the fact that, you know, in a year's time, my life may be totally different, right? Like,
I found that out.
Yeah, like not many things in this life are permanent, right? And so even if it's tough now, like this too shall pass, and there's always kind of a better life that you can live ahead. So yeah, that helps me not feel too down. Yeah. But yeah, advice I'd give is absolutely, you know, if what you're doing right now isn't right, like make a plan and work towards making things better for yourself.
God, you two could, like, do you two just want to run the government? I think we could get a lot of stuff solved if you two were just in charge. Right, here's number 2.
Hi, Jacqueline. When I was a boy, I read quite a few of your books, but sadly I was quickly put off by people at school who told me they were just for girls. I'm now reaching an age where I could have kids of my own, and I've been wondering, what would be the best way to ensure that I don't instill those same gender norms that were so prevalent in the 90s, and just let my kids enjoy what they want to enjoy, regardless of what the bullies at school say? Thank you.
I think it's lovely that you wanted to read my books, anybody's books, and I'm sure you're going to be fantastic with your children and read to them. And nowadays people are so happy children are reading at all, that I don't think there is as much prejudice about, you know, boys reading so-called girls' books. I think we swap around a little bit more. What do you think, Benjy? Did you find it difficult as a child reading books that other kids thought might be just for girls?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely did. I think just reading in general, I think when I was growing up was seen as a girly thing, you know, less so when I was a teenager. Because there was stuff like the Alex Rider books of Anthony Horowitz, and all the boys at school were really into those. And so, but definitely when I was like in primary school and I was reading your books, it wasn't cool to be a boy and reading, you know, at all. Never mind the type of book, you know. So yeah, it was tough. And I was made to feel very ashamed for being bookish, so to speak. Which is really sad. And I think one thing that I am grateful for is that my parents were always very accepting and encouraging of me when it came to reading. They really saw it as a positive thing, and they weren't that inquisitive about what I was really reading, as long as I was reading something, you know, and so I loved that. And so I guess the advice I would give is just, there's a lot of nuance to it, of course, but just very simply is just to be accepting. I think one of the biggest worries as a queer person when you're coming out to somebody is that your relationship will change, right, because of what you've divulged, right? And so it's advice that I give to people when, you know, they're, oh, how do I react when someone comes out to me? What do I say? What do I do? It's like, no matter what you say or do, just be accepting and reassure them that your relationship with them won't change. And I think the same principle applies, you know, within the home. Often, unfortunately, for lots of people, regardless of identity, that's where they experience rejection, you know, firsthand, right, for the first time. And that can really, really alter your life, right, and how you see yourself. So, you know, regardless of how the world is outside, if children know that they have a safe place at home where they are accepted and loved, like, that can make all the difference. So that's the advice I would give, just be accepting.
And we've got one more.
Hi Jacqueline, I just want to say thank you so much for being the best author and making my childhood and still creating the best books now. I just wanted some advice on what are the best ways to show your true self in this world and navigate it as a young adult, because I feel like I was quite a people pleaser and suppressed my emotions and true self a lot due to society and school. So what's your best advice on how to navigate this world as your true self as a young adult? Thank you.
I so identify with you because I don't think I was my secret self, not just about matters of sexuality, but that I had different ideas from an awful lot of people that I knew, and when I was married, I didn't really fit into that particular circle that books were my all, and I was really quite shy and a real people pleaser. But if people were condemning something that had seen on television that I thought was wonderful, or a book that were saying, oh, that's just rubbish, or whatever, I would then get fired up. And then people got really quite uncomfortable because they were used to me saying yes. And I think one of the very few good things about getting much older is after a bit you think, I don't care really what people think of me. Well, I do obviously with my villagers. They think
the sex
obsessed. But apart from that, I do think you get a lovely feeling of relief just actually saying what you think. I mean, obviously, if somebody is wearing something highly inappropriate and they say, do I look all right in that? And you know that they've actually bought it, you have to say, yes, that's gorgeous. I tell white lies. But no, it's lovely mostly to think, stop. You want to please people, but you've also got to remember you've got to please yourself too.
Yeah.
And I mean, you seem so relaxed in yourself already and very, very sort of happy to be your own authentic self. I mean, was it a struggle as a young teenager?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I grew up kind of wanting to assimilate and wanting to be like everybody else, right? So in regards to all aspects of my identity, not just my sexual orientation, but also like my cultural background and my race and all of these things, right? And so part of my journey was unlearning all of that and figuring out the life that I wanted to lead and trying to think about how I can affirm myself, right, for who I authentically am and create a life where those around me also celebrate me for who I authentically am as well. And I think it's really about being kind to yourself, right? Rather than aspiring to be nice. I think it's like a big difference, right? I think people please often do so because they want to be seen as a nice person. So a nice person is often like well-pleasing. They go with the flow, they're not too loud or abrasive, and they also often compromise themselves and their needs in order to please other people, right? And when actually you need to be kind to yourself. Being kind is doing the right thing by yourself, right? So would you treat a friend how you treat yourself? If the answer is a no, then change that. Treat yourself like you're a friend to yourself,
I think that's we ought to have a t-shirt. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, be kind to yourself so then you can be the best self for yourself and for those around you. And the right people will appreciate that. And if they don't appreciate that, they are the wrong people. You need to go out and find the right people for you.
Perfect advice.
Thank you.
Benjy, before you go, do you have any questions for Jackie? And also, would you like a little Jacqueline Wilson Raised Me?
Oh my gosh! Yes, I would love the cap. Can I put it on?
Of course you can.
What do we think?
Well, it suits you so.
Doesn't it suit me?
Oh, it really, really does. Could have been made for you.
Yes. Okay, so my question is, now that we've met, what book would you say is like, what book, if you had to recommend one of your books to me, that's like kind of more similar to me or my energy, my essence, like what book would you say of yours?
I would say you have to be patient. A book that I am currently writing, my third, and I have sworn, keep the mouth sit, don't say anything at all about it. But I think that would be the one for you. So,
is that all you can say? Is that all you can give us?
I can say.
Okay.
Yara is sweating.
Okay, well, I am waiting with bated breath. I cannot wait.
Oh,
yeah, thank
that's
you
good.
for that teaser, for that exclusive.
Yeah,
there we go.
Tease.
Yes.
That is everything we have time for today. Thank you both so much for being here. Thank you, Benjy, for coming in. Thank you, Jacqueline, for joining us once again. And anything else from either of you before we wrap up?
I'd just like to thank both of you. This has been a great treat for me. I couldn't imagine a morning that hasn't been happier.
It's such a gorgeous morning. And if you want to be in a chance of winning one of these gorgeous caps, you can head to Club Cosmo, where we are giving away a number of caps. So if you want to look like Benjy, get on it. Thank you guys so much, and come back next week for another episode of Jacqueline Wilson Raised Us. Thank you so much for listening to the Jacqueline Wilson Raised Us podcast. This has been made in collaboration with Penguin Books and Cosmopolitan UK. This series is hosted by me, Lydia Venn, produced by Hannah Twigg, and coordinated by Hannah Winter. It was recorded by Megan Beattie, and our designer was Alex Hambis. Special thanks to Becky Shaw and Nina Lewis, as well as Jacqueline Wilson herself and all our guests.